Pop Culture Pastor.
Cody, I have a question for you.
Okay.
You ready for this?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Where do you want to go?
I don't know.
You want to go to Stanley Spadowski's clubhouse.
I was going to say the spatula place, but...
Spatula City.
Spatula City, man. Many different kinds of spatulas.
I did see someone on Facebook post a picture at the storefront that was Spatula City.
Nice. Yeah, this is the most pop culture nerdy thing I do. Maybe we're part of the same group, but there's a group on Facebook dedicated to people going out to places where things have been filmed and taking a picture of themselves with the same backdrop and then putting it next to the film scene. It's super nerdy, and I love it.
I think that our algorithms got crossed because, I don't follow that, but it was there, and I'm like, I'll appreciate this.
Yeah. It's a cool thing. Well, hello. Welcome. This is Pop Culture Pastor, the podcast. My name is Dave. Cody's here.
I am.
Also, special guest, Geek of the Round Table, Jason Giesemann in studio. You were here.
I'm right here. I can see you, and unlike the Zoom calls when I call in, I know how you're responding to what I'm saying. So
he's got his Pop Culture Pastor podcast hat on.
Got to represent.
He's ready to go. So, we've got a fun episode. This is a Legends/Be Kind Rewind episode, all in one. But first and foremost, I got to say this. I've been told that I should say this at the beginning of the pod, not at the end. And that is, if you enjoy the episode, if you learn something today, if you laugh, something like that, if you appreciate what we say, please consider following the show, subscribing to us on your favorite podcast platform. If we're not on your favorite podcast platform, let us know and we'll get on it. Also, leaving a 5-star review is helpful. This helps more than I could say. This allows us to reach more and more people, and that would mean the world to us.
It would.
So, yeah. Thanks. I'm going to do that at the beginning of the episode now.
That's perfect.
Yeah. We're here to, of course, honor, and it is a deep honor, maybe the biggest honor Weird Al has ever received than having a Legends episode of Pop Culture Pastor.
I don't know if that's the biggest honor.
What? I mean, he's won Grammys and stuff.
It's in the top 5.
Yeah. But first, we've got a couple news items, as we like to do here right off the bat. Marvel Studios continues to troll. At San Diego Comic-Con, you may have remember if you listened to the episode, we paid special attention that they specifically kept saying that Robert Downey Jr. is playing Victor Von Doom. They said it multiple times. The reason that's important we kind of got into, because if he's a Tony Stark variant who's posing as Doom, then he's not Victor Von Doom. But they kept saying it. You might remember that my theory is they're just trying to throw us off. Because he's going to be a Stark variant. There's no other way around. He can't be Victor Von Doom.
Listen, when
Jason,
Kevin Feige says something, you might as well take it as if Jesus spoke directly to you.
Oh, he's a dirty liar. No way.
Jesus is not.
No, yeah.
Let's clarify
Kevin
that
Feige is.
Yeah, I would never denigrate our Lord and Savior that way.
I was just clarifying.
Kevin Feige, on the other hand. They're definitely trolling because today, just randomly, a news story broke. Cody sent it to me.
Robert titled it news.
As he likes to do. Is it news?
It was done satirically.
We talked about it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, news a couple weeks ago it was.
Yes, but they released it today.
As we're recording it today, Robert Downey Jr., the headlines are out there, confirms he's playing Victor Von Doom. And now I'm certain they're trolling us. I'm just absolutely positive.
I just believe that he is indeed Victor Von Doom and that they are ruining the perfect superhero send-off.
This is an audio podcast, so you would know this, but there's roughly 15 times an episode where I want to throw stuff at Cody. Because he's being intentionally annoying. Not annoying. That's not the right word. He's trying to start stuff.
He's an aggravation.
Yeah, he's
something
like,
stuck in your teeth that you just can't get out.
It's like if it not a literal sense, but figuratively, he's over there with a stick, just poking me, just poking the bear.
It's what I'm here for.
Yeah, it is. It's entertaining, but I still want to throw stuff at you sometimes. Anyways, that's the big news of the day. Robert Downey Jr. says he's confirmed he's playing Victor Von Doom. I just don't believe him. I just don't believe it. This is the same company that edits their trailers, puts characters that aren't in it just to throw people off.
I will say, they keep the worst secrets.
They do. They're not particularly good at it.
Yeah.
And I feel like really smart on this one. I am just so certain that they're trying to save some big reveal where the real Doom shows up at the end of the first movie.
I did see earlier this week where I believe it was Mads Mikkelsen had confirmed that he's not playing Victor Von Doom, which made me think, are you really playing Victor Von Doom? Are you really the one behind the Tony Stark?
They talked to him, and my first thought was, dude, he was the villain in the first Doctor Strange. Like, what are we doing here? Are there not enough actors in Hollywood?
And hasn't Mads been in something else as well?
He was in Rogue One,
Yeah.
briefly. You mean like a Marvel thing?
Yeah. Was he in Shang-Chi?
No.
Oh.
I don't think so.
No.
Okay, I felt like Mads had double dipped in this universe.
I think he was in one of the Sony things.
Oh, that might be it.
Yeah, so Sony does that too because now, they're Kraven the Hunter, which looks awful, by the way. That first trailer came out. That Kraven the Hunter is using Quicksilver. Our Quicksilver. MCU. So, like, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who played Quicksilver, is now going to be Kraven in the Marvel Universe, but not the actual Marvel Universe, the weird Sony Marvel Universe, whatever you want to call it, the Spider-Verse.
Without Spider-Man.
And with a just atrocious looking Rhino. The Rhino, how do you not get it right? It's a dude in a suit.
Paul Giamatti.
It's a dude in a better suit. It's a big dude. Like he's a hoss. Anyways, so Robert Downey Jr., what do you think about that, Jason?
I had heard rumblings before he came out on stage. And I thought, well, that's a cool pop moment. But that's all it was to me. I don't get it. I don't understand where they're going with it. I just don't see how it connects unless he's a front for the real Victor Von Doom.
Yeah.
And even then, I'm not sure I like that.
I just don't know how it could possibly succeed in the hearts of comic nerds if you don't give them the actual Doom.
Yeah.
Like, that just seems like a disaster. And when I think to myself, they wouldn't possibly do that. I remember the movies in the last 3 years, and I'm like, well, they could.
Or you remember the outrage that was there during Iron Man 3.
What was that outrage? Are you talking about the Mandarin?
Yep.
Yeah.
Although I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Well, if they would have just given us the real Mandarin from the start instead of the weird, although he was great in Shang-Chi.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I love that Trevor.
That character in Shang-Chi
I love they
was
created
incredible.
the character of Trevor.
Yes.
But he was going to be the Mandarin until they showed a couple early previews of that and it didn't test well. I'll bet money that was the plan. Which is weird because now they would never do that. Disney would never recast an ethnic position into a white actor. They wouldn't do that now.
No.
But they shouldn't have in the first place. Just give us the real Mandarin, which, they did in Shang-Chi.
They did.
Didn't they? I mean, that was Shang-Chi's dad, the Mandarin.
Theoretically.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they ever call him that, but anyways. Another big story this past week. Nick Cage is back.
At his full cagiest.
He's always been back. Cody went and saw Longlegs.
I did. The Cageissance is on.
He's really back. Because when I heard this, I was like, oh, this is amazing. Okay, so if you'd have told me they were going to make a biopic on John Madden, famous football coach / video game pioneer John Madden.
/ announcer for the NFL for my entire youth.
With such great lines as, boom! That's my best Madden. That's all I got.
Tough acting to acting.
Tough acting. or the person going to win this game is the one who's going to score the most points. He would say things like that all the time.
All I know is he always was announcing for the Cowboys, and everybody was getting a turducken at the end.
Yes.
Anyways, yeah. I mean, you probably know who John Madden is if you're over the age of 20, 25. Anyways, they're doing a biopic, and you're like, oh, great, because Frank Caliendo needed work.
Absolutely.
Because I'm just like, why wouldn't you go with Frank Caliendo? Wait, you didn't go with Frank Caliendo? And I'm just about to get upset. I'm like, why would you pick anyone other? We cast Nick Cage. Okay, then. I'm in. That's just absurd enough for me to watch.
I do find it ironic, though, that Nick Cage is playing a man who's afraid to fly, when my favorite movie of his was Con Air, where they spend most of the time on an airplane. So, I mean, that's...
Yeah, I forgot Madden traveled around the country in an RV.
On a bus.
Yeah, on a bus.
Yeah.
He was bussing it everywhere.
He was bussing. Nick Cage is going to be bussing in this. Telling you what.
It will either be the best John Madden movie you'll ever see, or it will be the worst.
Even if it's the worst, it will be imminently watchable, right? There's no way this isn't entertaining.
I mean,
Nick Cage is John Madden. It's like 12-year-old me had a fever dream.
Well, they look awfully similar.
No, not at all.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, he's going to have to wear some sort of suit, right? Some prosthetics, because Madden was huge.
It's huge.
And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, he was a hulking kind of dude.
He was a former offensive lineman.
Yeah. Yeah.
he's a big guy.
I'm excited. I'm excited about it. Okay. We're going to move on in our show, and we're going to move on to Jason's first time playing the movie game. It's the movie game coming up next. Welcome back. It is time. I will tell you, both participants are nervous. Cody has had a run of bad luck last week. When the last time we played, that was last week, right?
Yeah.
The Geek Ethan got a good movie.
Ethan did a great job.
A very solvable one. Cody did too, but it just wasn't like the second build actor really threw Ethan over the top. Cody's like, if Cody was an athlete, he'd be like the one who just had a run of bad luck. Maybe he had an injury and he's just trying to get back on that horse. Confidence level is low.
I'm Clay Thompson right now.
And Jason, it's his first time. He's a rookie.
I'm like an A-ball and just trying to see if I can compete.
He's just hungry. So this could be really embarrassing for Cody. Oh, no pressure. No pressure, though. All right, Jason. We of course, talking about the movie game. And here are the rules. You said you've been listening, so you're probably familiar. But I have in front of me 3 movie profiles on Rotten Tomatoes. A bad one, a mediocre one, and a good one. And then you will get to select of those 3 which one you want to try and solve. You'll go through the game, and then Cody will have his chance to beat you. There are no prizes, just bragging rights. And for posterity.
Perfect.
Respect forevermore. No pressure. Okay, so the movies I have, the bad movie is a 26% critically rated on rating on Rotten Tomatoes. The mediocre one, 45% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And the good one, a 93% fresh critical rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Which one would you like to try and solve, Jason?
Well, see, here's the problem. Is my opinion and Rotten Tomatoes' opinion are very rarely anywhere close to each other.
That's why you get the audience score, because that balanced it out. And there was that last week or the 2 weeks ago where it actually I think it helped.
It was the last time we did it because Spaceballs, I needed the audience score.
Yeah, that's right. That's correct, because the Spaceballs critical score was atrocious.
I was ashamed.
Which one will you solve, Jason?
Let's do the 45%.
All right, he's going mediocre. All right, he felt something about this. The way this is going to work, level 1, there will be 5 levels, each with a new clue. Okay, you get a guess after each one. Level 1, I will retell you the critic score of 45% and tell you this movie came out in 2004. A mediocre movie from 2004.
And thus is the second problem. I don't remember what year anything came out.
Oh, me either.
2004. Where would I have been in my life? I have no idea.
How old are you?
We'll go with Shrek 2.
Shrek. I mean, hey, that's a
Is that
solid
around
guess.
that time?
There's so much writing on that piece of paper. Point to what you wrote, bro. I can't. Your writing is terrible. What is this? But
You'd assume that means it's not correct.
Cody has once again written down Pirates of the Caribbean 2. That's like an for us joke because no one else understands what's happening, but Cody writes down that guess every time. Neither of those are correct. So Jason will move on to level 2, the second billed actor. All right, the second billed actor, Jason, Jake Gyllenhaal. So you got a 45% critical score from a movie from 2004. Second billed actor, Jake Gyllenhaal.
45% Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yes. I feel
me
like
neither.
there's some listeners who at this point could be getting it. I don't know. It'd still be a pretty good. That'd be a pretty good poll. Okay.
Yeah.
You
I
wanna
have
move
no
on?
good
All right.
guess.
Yeah, I
on
won't
that
leave
one.
you twisted in the wind for long. Level 3, the audience score, not going to help you much. So you can just guess a Jake Gyllenhaal movie, even though you couldn't come up with in the last one. 50%. So it goes up 5%. So audiences were okay with the movie. 2004, 45% critical, 50% audience. Jake Gyllenhaal is the second billed actor.
I'm really hoping he was in this movie, Donnie Darko.
He was in that movie.
He was
but
the star of Donnie.
That's what
Darko.
I thought.
yeah.
I was like, I don't think he's second billed. But
hey,
Unless Drew Barrymore.
but I think that was in the 90s, wasn't it?
that's a good question. You're getting better though because
Okay.
you had
Early
to
odds.
guess that.
I had a Jake
And-
Gyllenhaal movie.
It was a Jake Gyllenhaal movie. So level 4, you're going to get the first billed actor. This might do it for you.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a guess who the first billed actor is.
Yeah.
Is it Quaid?
It is a Quaid. It's Dennis Quaid. Jake Gyllenhaal, Dennis Quaid, and a 45% critical reviewed movie on Rotten Tomatoes from 2004.
The Rookie.
The
That was the Dennis Quaid
that
movie
is not
I had
it.
around
Okay.
that time. Sorry.
This is fun. Now I get to do the blurb. Level 5. This will be your last
Oh,
one.
yeah, I get the blurb.
All right.
You don't ever get to the blurb. I'm excited. You're doing the blurb voice, too.
Could you please
Sorry.
don't interrupt the blurb. When the Earth is suddenly thrown into a new ice age, one climatologist must travel to a now frozen New York City to save his son.
It's the day after tomorrow.
It is the day after tomorrow. We need like a
Jake Gyllenhaal
applause
was
track.
in that?
We need like a
I know I've seen it.
Yeah, he was.
Yes.
He played like the high school senior
I
who
was
looks
gonna
like
say-
he's about 30.
He's the son.
Yeah, he's
Which-
Dennis Quaid's son. Dennis Quaid.
I don't even remember. I don't remember any actor from that movie.
Dennis Quaid cast well as the dad. He looks old.
True fact. They just did an interview with both of them, and Jake Gyllenhaal's like, "Oh, you were my dad."
He forgot he was in that movie.
How
with
am I
them.
supposed to remember they're in it if they don't remember they're in it? Come on.
To be honest, very much of the movie they are not together.
Yes,
Obviously, the dad comes to rescue the son. Anyways, all right, Cody. I mean,
This is a rarity.
I just opened
yeah,
the door for you, man.
The pressure's off a little bit here, although he did solve it. So you
yes.
have to solve. But you've got the 26% movie or the 93% movie.
I needed the 26 to be lower, so I'm going 93.
Okay, I will put that one down just to make sure in case we need a tiebreaker. 93% critical score for a movie that came out in 1998. I already know what he's going to guess.
Armageddon.
That was not it. 93%? Man, Michael Bay was like, right?
Hey, I don't want to close my eyes.
I don't want to go to sleep. No.
I miss
That-
you, Cody.
It is not, and he doesn't want to miss a thing. It is not Armageddon. We're moving on to level 2. The second billed actor for this 93% movie from 1998. The second billed actor is Matt Damon.
I'm going to guess Good Will Hunting. but it's
Yeah.
not.
I wonder who was the top billed actor in Good Will Hunting. Was Ben Affleck? I mean, he had to have been bigger than Damon at that point.
Wouldn't it be Robin Williams?
Oh yeah. It probably was Robin
Yeah.
Williams. Is it like, I would love to know who the second billed actor is. It's got to be Damon though, just because he's the star.
I would think so.
But Ben Affleck had to have been bigger than Damon at that point because he had been in things. He'd been in Mallrats.
Yeah, I don't know. So
Interesting. It's not Good Will Hunting, but I think that's a good guess because Robin Williams would have been the top billed actor of that.
I'm just off on my years.
Yeah, but it would have been earlier because that was part of the big indie boom. Level 3, the audience score, 95%. Not going to help you a whole lot, but you can guess another Matt Damon movie.
Oh my goodness. I'm trying to think back to the 90s and Matt Damon. Jason Bourne.
The first one?
The first one.
I believe
Born
that's the
Identity?
Born Identity.
Born
yeah.
Identity. I was going to say Ultimatum, but that's like 3.
Yeah. I mean, it's a guess.
Yeah.
He's in it, but he's got to be the top billed actor
He
by that
does.
time.
Yeah.
That'll take you to level 4, the top billed actor. This for the win over Jason. And boy, this one, Jason's nervous.
Can you feel the pressure?
I don't know. It's
palpable.
He might get this one.
I might not.
The top billed actor is Tom Hanks.
Saving Private Ryan.
It is Saving Private Ryan. Oh, Cody wins. You're back on.
I honestly would have thought that was earlier, like 96.
Yeah,
It
and
feels that way.
Matt Damon's hardly in that movie. Like, they spend the whole movie trying to get to him. He's the second billed actor. There are tons of people in that movie.
But he's already won Academy Awards for Good Will Hunting, so
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh.
I guess that's a good point.
But yeah, I would not have guessed that Matt Damon joint, if you will, as him being second billed. And yeah.
Yeah, but he is second billed, and that's just shocking Tom Sizemore slander. I'm just saying. No respect for the Sizemore. All right. When we come back, it's time for our Legends / Be Kind Rewind episode. Weird Al Yankovic, the honor of being a pop culture pastor legend, and we're going to take a look back at UHF, which is just a slice of 80s goodness. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. It is time. I think I dreamed of this as a small child, that we were going to one day lift up Weird Al to be in the place where he deserves to be in the pop culture lexicon. And is there anyone that does not like Weird Al anywhere? He's like universally loved, right?
He wasn't. There was beef.
Who had beef with him?
Coolio.
Coolio did.
Coolio had the beef. Oh, that's unfortunate because Amish Paradise is one of his best.
They did make up a long time ago before Coolio died.
Yeah, there's a bunch of wonderful stories out there. First of all, we should preface this by saying if you don't know who Weird Al Yankovic is, we should first define parody. A parody, not parody like in the NFL or, sports.
There is no parody in the NFL anymore.
Yeah, no, not anymore. The Chiefs ruined that. Not parody parity, but parody parody, which is an imitation of the style of a particular writer, artist, or genre with deliberate exaggeration for comic effect. And that, in a nutshell, is Weird Al Yankovic. Born Alfred Matthew Yankovic on October 23rd, 1959. He's as old as my mom. He's old.
Ouch.
Sorry, Mom. But I had no, he doesn't look that old. It's the hair, isn't it?
The hair, yeah. If you had hair like that, you wouldn't look that old either.
No. He looked older when he was young. I spent this whole movie thinking, man, he looks like he's 40.
And you know what? 40 years later, he still looks like he's 40.
Yep, absolutely. He's like Paul Rudd. He hasn't aged. He started playing the accordion at a young age, which became a signature instrument in his comedic music, known for his humorous parodies of popular songs, often changing the lyrics to create comedic versions. What were some of your favorites?
Well, you already mentioned kind of Amish Paradise was just a banger. That's one of the first ones. I was 99, I think, which was my senior year. So, that's a pretty important time in a young man's life. And that was just, I was like, this is awesome. Like, I didn't listen to Gangster's Paradise, but like, this is so cool. I remember the first one as a kid that I really liked was Eat It. Mm-hmm. And maybe that was just being a chubby kid.
I was going to say, those were the first two songs, and then I Lost on Jeopardy.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a good one, too. I really liked both of those. Eat It. So I was at the age where in middle school, we had cassette tapes of Weird Al. Like, if you were a cool kid, you had Weird Al on cassette, and I can remember listening to Eat It, that tape over and over again. Ham on rye,
Yeah.
He's just so brilliant. I also, this is weird, but there's one that I liked that was just randomly on one of his albums that doesn't get a lot of love, but I loved it because it was about Ed McMahon. Do you remember Ed McMahon?
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
Johnny Carson's kind of side guy. Like the guy that just sat on the couch.
He would give you money.
Yeah,
He
was
would,
also related
yes.
to Publishers Clearinghouse. But I can't even remember what song this was a parody of. But it went, here's Johnny, he says, and laughs in his special way. and then you would hear his laugh in the background. Ha, ha, ha.
Yeah, I remember the song. I can't
Yeah.
place it either.
So I loved Weird Al growing up. Was a big fan of his comedy albums. His breakout hit was My Baloney, which was a parody of My Sharona by The Knack. He recorded it in a college restroom.
Yeah.
True story. Famous for songs like Eat It, which we just talked about. Amish Paradise, which was a parody of Coolio's Gangsta's Paradise. And White and Nerdy.
Like nerdy.
That one came out my senior year.
A parody of Chamillionaire's Writing. Is that how I say that?
I would-
Chamillionaire?
Chamillionaire.
I would
Chummin.
say I had felt like I had matured beyond Weird Al, and then White and Nerdy came out, and I went, nope, I have not. This is it.
Well, that's the amazing thing about him is he just keeps doing it.
And I would tell you, that might be one of the big moments for nerd culture to finally get to say, hey, yeah, we're around, we're here, and we don't have to hide what we like anymore because Weird Al just put it all out in front of you, and he's shown what we're into to the whole world, and guess what? You seem to like it too.
And the music video was amazing for that one.
His videos usually were.
Oh,
Key
yeah.
and Peele are in it. Seth Green's in it. There's a lot of random bigger name people, especially in nerd culture, that are in that music video.
Weird Al there are lots of celebrities who are fans. And in fact, the Coolio thing surprises me because a lot of the artists were honored.
Yes.
So there's this famous story involving Victoria Jackson, who's in this movie. She was on Saturday Night Live at the time, and Weird Al had been wanting to use parody a Nirvana song, "Smells Like Teen Spirit." Nirvana was like famously hard to talk to. They were like to get a hold of them, and he had gone through proper channels. Yeah, he had gone through proper channels but couldn't. And so Victoria Jackson said, "Oh, he's going to be a guest on this date on Saturday Night Live. I'll hook you up." And so she did. She got him on a phone with Kurt Cobain, and Kurt Cobain said, "Yeah, it would be an honor. What song are you going to do?" And he said, "Smells Like Teen Spirit." And he's like, "Oh, is it going to be a song about food? Or are you going to do about food?" Because that was Kurt's experience. And he said, "No, it's actually me a song about how no one understands your lyrics." And Kurt Cobain laughed and said, "That'll be funny, man." And the rest is history. He did that song, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, there's stories about lots of the artists. Like Michael Jackson loved it. Like he was asked multiple times, "What do you think about Weird Al's parodies of your songs?" Like, I want him to parody my songs. They're funny.
Yeah.
And there's the famous Weird Al bump for music when after recordings come out, and if Weird Al parodies your song, that song gets a bump again in radio time, sales, in streaming now. It's incredible what he does for these songs and for these artists. And
I was going to
most
say,
of them love it.
Madonna loved it
Yep.
for Like a Surgeon.
That's also a great one. Absolutely great. Like a surgeon. Woo! But yeah, so, and why wouldn't you be? As an artist, to be parodied
Yeah.
and to have it done well. So Weird Al isn't just doing a parody. I mean, there's lots of bad parodies out there.
Yeah.
To have it done well, where he's actually funny. Also, he's an incredible musician. In fact, he does these things inside of his songs that the regular listener wouldn't even know half the time, where he's recreating something in the song that maybe that band's known for, and it actually turns into an homage to the person he's parodying. They hear it, and it's an homage.
Yeah.
And that's like the best parody is an homage.
Yeah.
It says, I respect this material so much that I'm going to make fun of it, except you're in on the joke with me.
He also finds, if you listen to his lyrics, he finds just something to be an expert about during that song. Like one of my favorite more recent ones is word crimes. All of the grammar that he puts into that. He's doing this weird thing where he's talking about grammar, which is a boring subject to me. Maybe some of the listeners like grammar. But he's at the same time teaching us grammar, yet making fun of us for not knowing grammar, yet making fun of grammar police for over-policing grammar, and also at the same time making fun of those who have no idea what they're doing and saying things like, get out of the gene pool. And everybody loves it and laughs because he's not getting after anybody or insulting anybody. He's just having fun.
Yeah.
I live 2 hours away from you guys, and I was driving up here, and so I put on Weird Al for 2 hours. It was awesome. And I heard a song called Pancreas. I don't know if you guys know Pancreas.
No.
I do not.
He literally is talking about what a pancreas does and is using the scientific terms and to a Beach Boys song.
Because of course.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Like, who comes up with that? Who thinks I'm going to teach everybody about a pancreas and how much you should love your pancreas?
Yeah. Yeah. He's amazing. He got his big break at the age of 16 in 1976. He had one of his songs aired on the Dr. Demento radio show, who makes a cameo in UHF, by the way. He sold more than 12 million albums. That was as of 2015, so that's probably gone up. Recorded more than 150 parodies and original songs. Performed more than 1,000 live shows. He's earned 5 Grammy Awards and a further 11 nominations, 4 gold records, 6 platinum records, and his first top 10 Billboard album, Straight Outta Linwood, and single White and Nerdy were both released in 2006, nearly 3 decades into his career. So I would have never guessed that. By the time he hits the top 10 on Billboard, it's after he's 30 years in the business.
Yeah.
He's amazing. He is absolutely amazing.
Well, consider, like, how many other parody artists do you know? I can think of one, and that's it.
Who's the other one? I can't even...
Okay, so you had to be listening to 90s country. It was Cletus T. Judd.
Oh, yeah, okay, I've heard of him.
And so, like, it was a rarity that you would ever hear a parody artist on the radio and or would remember their name. Mm-hmm. And Weird Al not only was on the radio, but he was also, because there was like a few years that VH1 was still playing music videos, and they would show Weird Al Yankovic music videos while I was a youth.
Yeah.
They stopped that.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
right. Well, one of the worst things that happens to Weird Al is the death of MTV. Well, that happens to happen to a lot of us. The death of MTV as a music video television station. That when they stop doing that, he kind of fades a little bit, and then he comes back with the rise of YouTube.
Yeah.
Because his stuff, like, it's not just the song. He makes great videos. He won an Emmy, by the way, for Weird, the Al Yankovic story. He was a producer. Like, listen, he's an Oscar and a Tony away from an EGOT. And how has this dude not had a Broadway show yet? Like, I would think that would be a perfect match.
Well,
like, he doesn't have to be in it. He can help write it.
No, yeah.
Considering, like, Monty Python's Spamalot was a huge Broadway success, I think that you could easily do a Weird Al Broadway show.
Yeah, I would think so too. I would think it just makes sense, but He's a legend. He's a legend. Do we have anything else to say about how much of a legend Weird Al is?
Well, even beyond that, he's done TV shows, he's done movies, he's just all over the place. And if you watch the biography movie, which is also a parody of biography movies,
yeah,
or biopics, of his life, starring Daniel Radcliffe, who does an incredible job. You see cameos from a ton of other celebrities, going back to what you were mentioning earlier, that people just like him and they want to be in things that he's doing and they want to be a part of what he's doing. And there is a scene in that movie where they're at a swimming pool and it's all these random kind of goofy celebrities that you're like, why were they famous again? Oh yeah, they had this quirky thing. And like Pee Wee Herman was there as an example. Like, did that scene ever happen? No.
Well,
but you have all these celebrities playing these other celebrities because they just want to be part of Weird Al's thing.
There's something different about today, though. Like in the 80s, quirky was a great way to become a celebrity. Like Pee Wee Herman would never work now.
No.
Like Weird Al would still work. He kind of transcends the culture. But Pee Wee Herman wouldn't work. Bobcat Goldthwait wouldn't work.
No, it's... In somewhere in the 90s, there was a huge shift that it stopped working because, like, Carrot Top,
Yeah.
Pauly Shore,
Pauly Shore's a great example.
they both were on the rise, and then boom, got knocked down.
Yeah, the ceiling or the floor dropped out
Yeah,
just from somewhere. I think it was the day we all got a little too over serious. Not Yahoo Serious, who was another dude who was kind of in that quirky, like he had his own movie. You remember Yahoo Serious? He was like an Australian comedian or something. I don't remember. Anyways, he was really quirky like those dudes. But yeah, I'm not sure that it could ever happen again now. And I don't remember where I was going with it. Oh, I was going to ask you, having seen both the Weird Al story and UHF, do you sense the same energy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all Weird Al. Like, even when you're listening to his music, different genres that he's doing, he does them all very well for their genre, but it's all 100% Weird Al, somehow weirdly mixed with, like, I heard, I forget what Couch Potato on the way here, which is the parody of Lose Myself by Eminem.
yeah.
And you got this Weird Al energy, but you also got this Eminem energy, and you're like, how in the world does he do that? And then, like, a surgeon comes on, and you're like, he does the same thing with a Madonna song.
Yeah.
Like, it's Weird Al, but it's Madonna, and it's so weird.
And it's a parody. This is what makes him so good, is it's not a parody meant to mock.
Yes.
It's a parody meant to honor. And he's got the musical know-how to pull it off. And so it sounds good. It's crazy. Amish Paradise. I don't know how many times that song came on when it first came out, and I thought it was actually Gangsta's Paradise. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's about to go down. Oh, I've been living most of my life living in a gangsta. I'm about to sing along with it because, I grew up on the streets. But, when you're singing alone in the car, you think so. And then to my surprise, it's Amish Paradise. And I'm like, I know nothing about Amish Paradise.
You see, I have the opposite effect, where when I hear a song, I assume it's the Weird Al song. Every time Party in the USA comes on, I start singing about being a spy. When I took my wife to see New Kids on the Block and The Right Stuff, they started singing that. She turned around and looked at me like I was crazy because I was singing, Oh, oh, Rio. The white stuff. Because that's the words to the song.
That song's canceled, by the way. You can't sing that now. Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, he is so big in the culture. He was so big in the 80s. And this movie, I remember when this was a thing. This was like, oh, he's not just for kids who are listening to his cassette tapes. Now he's real. Like, he was coming out with this movie, UHF. It was a big deal. And I just remember I hadn't seen this movie since I was a kid. And so I really thoroughly enjoyed this. But I want to make sure we've given him legend status before we move on. Is there anything, Cody, you're a little bit younger than us. Like, is there any way you can say how big of an influence Weird Al is in your culture?
So I feel Weird Al was like a coming of age, like a passage into coming of age, that like you dive into the Weird Al discography. And I told you that I had watched this movie in its entirety only once before this go round. And it was about my senior year of high school, freshman year of college. And it was like, oh, this is what the hipsters are into. We're all about Weird Al. As a kid, like I said, his music videos were still on when I was a kid. And so, like, that's how I get introduced to Weird Al. I did have a CD because CDs were a thing.
Yeah, for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I had a CD for a while, and then every form of Apple Music, iTunes, Spotify,
Napster.
I got in too late for
Oh,
Napster,
no, you
so
missed Napster?
LimeWire. I had all the viruses.
Oh, man. Yeah, you wrecked some computers with the LimeWire.
Yes, Weird Al was always in the playlist.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's fitting as he takes his place as a pop culture pastor legend of pop culture, Weird Al Yankovic.
we need a jersey to hang up.
Oh, we could make Legends jerseys. Yeah. And
Hang them from the rafters.
yes, that's a great idea. So let's move into the Be Kind Rewind part of this pod. UHF came out in 1989. I didn't realize it was that late. I was 13 years old. I thought it came out earlier. I really did. 63% on Rotten Tomatoes. And here is, directed by Jay Levy. Only made $6.1 million at the box office. It was a flop. It flopped. And we'll get into that here in a little bit. But here's the blurb. After losing yet another job, George, played by Weird Al Yankovic, wonders if there's any career that can handle his outrageous personality. When George's uncle, played by Stanley Brock, hands him the deed to a local TV station, George creates a series of television shows based on social satire and hyperactive humor. With the help of his best friend Bob, played by David Bowie, not David Bowie. However, a rival station's bitter CEO, played by Kevin McCarthy, tries to destroy George's wacky programming, forcing him to fight back. There's nothing else to do but kind of some broad things about the movie, and then we can get into what's good. This was filmed mostly in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Were you aware of that, Cody?
I was not, but that means we can go and visit.
Yeah, 2 hours away from us.
Yeah.
Some of the popular local places throughout the city, including Hardin's Hamburgers, Rose Bowl Lanes, Joey's House of the Blues, and the Tulsa International Airport, among other locations.
I have been by that airport multiple times.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm sure I have too. I just don't remember it.
It's not worth remembering.
We went to the mall and the aquarium there once. Siskel and Ebert did not like UHF.
What?
2 thumbs down. Siskel said the movie, quote, may be injurious to your sense of humor, which, sorry, Gene, I disagree.
That sounds exactly like the Siskel I remember.
As I watched it, I thought, man, this informed a lot of my humor.
Yeah, right. Ebert called it, quote, a series of half-baked parodies of bad TV. I couldn't disagree with that more. These parodies are intelligent. They're smart. And they're so smart, I don't think we got the jokes half the time.
They are definitely parodies of bad TV.
Some years later, in 1992, Yankovic got his revenge on the film critic pair when he did a parody of MC Hammer's You Can't Touch This called I Can't Watch This about Siskel and Ebert.
Nice.
With the lyrics, those Siskel and Ebert bums ought to go home and sit on their thumbs. Atta kid, Weird Al. That's a burn.
That's the best revenge.
That's a little saucy.
Yeah. So I mentioned this was a flop. This is incredible.
Yeah.
You guys, I learned this in my research. This is amazing. The film was rated PG-13, which I had to double check because I was like, what? This PG-13 for what? Because in the 80s especially, I was thinking like, what in the world got this a PG-13? Well, he did an interview about it, Weird Al. And he said this, the 2 scenes in question. one scene was Emo Phillips cutting his thumb off on a table saw.
That was funny.
Which I laughed at uncontrollably
They
throughout the
call
entire
me
scene.
Mr. Butterfinger.
It's two of the funniest scenes in the movie, because the other scene is Raul Hernandez throwing poodles out the window in his Raul. What is it called? It's Raul's Wild Kingdom.
Wild Kingdom,
Yes.
yeah.
I thought Raoul's Wild Kingdom, but I would have guessed when he's daydreaming very early and like gets run over.
He does get flattened.
He gets
Yes.
flattened, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that wasn't it. It was those two scenes. They said pull those, you'll get a PG, which honestly would have greatly affected probably the box office. And he said no. He's like, those are two of the funniest scenes. And you know what? He was right.
Yeah.
Those scenes are hilarious.
By the way, do you think those scenes would make it PG-13 today?
No.
Not at all.
No.
Although your mom would not have approved of you watching this.
For those, if you're new to the podcast, my mother works for the Humane Society of the United States. So she probably was not a fan of the poodles jumping out of windows.
But turtles are nature's suction cups.
Look, they stick.
Look, it sticks.
Unbelievable. Let's go with what holds up. Jason, what holds up?
Well, we already mentioned a few of them, but it has some of the best quotes. Now, some of them I shouldn't say to my wife and my kids, but I do. Like, stupid! You are so stupid! Now, they know when I say it like that, I'm quoting, and it's not true. There was one I got this time that maybe I was just too young previously, but guns don't kill people. I do.
I have that in my notes.
And am I wrong? Was that the guy who worked with Ernest on the Ernest films? Was that Vern? It looked like Vern to me.
It might be. The full quote: gun controls for wimps and commies. Guns don't kill people. I do.
And the thing is, like, I have seen variations of that, but not as parody.
Right.
They're
Yes.
being dead serious.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm like, oh.
Which again is part of the beauty of Weird Al.
Head of his time. And, like, now this is where society is.
Yeah. Actual question: could he make this movie today? Like, I tend to think yes, but I'm also relying on the audience to get that it's a parody and it's a joke, and I'm not sure we can do that, because he's actually making fun of the same things the people that would be upset would not like.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they would get the joke. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. It's crazy where we're at.
One of my favorite characters is Cooney. Every time he shows up, it's hilarious. But you can't make some of those jokes today.
Yeah,
We already did the stupid, the red snapper, very tasty. Like, just the way he says it
Yeah,
is
it's
very thick
Yeah.
in accent.
He's definitely one of the good things about this movie. He's played by Getty Watanabe, who is
Yes.
in 16 Candles as Long Duck Dong. He's actually,
So all his roles
Yeah.
you can't have today.
like, look, he's on record as saying, yeah, it was the Asian tropes are a little rough in the 80s. He played on them. He got to be in big movies, but it's not, but he wanted to work, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Doesn't mean he liked it. And I think we can look back and say, yeah, that probably wasn't the best, especially Long Duck Dong.
Yeah.
But there were a couple moments in this movie that were kind of cringy. It just wasn't as bad.
But that's part of the Weird Al experience. Is he's going to over exaggerate to, I don't know if it's really to make a point, but it's to
Yeah.
make you think, oh, okay,
Well,
yeah.
is he, okay, yeah, is he following into a trope, or is he making fun of the trope?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think there's a case to be made that he's actually making fun of it. And by getting Getty Watanabe, you are meant to understand, oh, he's making fun of the fact that Getty only gets these roles
Yes.
where he looks ridiculous.
I don't think you can have the Gandhi movie trailer.
Gandhi 2.
2.
Which is like, it seems like it's a spoof of Scarface, maybe?
Yeah.
Like Gandhi as Scarface, and then he wants the steak at the end, which I just busted up laughing. That was hilarious.
Yes.
I mean, I laughed, but like, oh, we would be too offended.
Yeah. It's interesting. But yeah, parody. The parody in this movie, Al is so good at the music. Let's talk about it in the movie. When parody's done right, it's just so smart. And Weird Al is brilliant. He's genius. And he just does it so well. the best parody and satire always acts like a time capsule. I realized that watching this movie, because this wasn't just a movie for back then in 1989 that was funny and made fun of and parodied stuff back then. I was able to watch this and it just immediately transported me back to that time, because it's such a perfect capsule. Cody, being a child of the 80s, knows that. And so, yeah, it's so good. Anything else you want to point out is what's good in this movie?
I will tell you, I was well into my 20s, if not 30s, when I realized that badgers, we don't need no stinking badgers, was not an original quote. They just changed it from badges.
Yeah, so we never
and
said
apparently it's
badges.
really famous.
Right. So when we quoted it in middle school, we were not quoting the Western.
No, it was always badgers.
Yes, it was always badgers. Badgers? We don't need no stinking badgers.
And that probably is the quote I say the most,
Yeah.
specifically to my family, just randomly.
Absolutely. But it's amazing. This almost has a Shakespeare quality, because I say that all the time and I forgot it was in this movie.
Yeah.
I forgot that this was what it was from. It's incredible.
Yeah, there's a couple of lines in this movie where I'm like, oh, this is what we're referencing.
It's so smart. I forgot how smart this movie was.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. It's such
So
a
dumb,
dumb movie.
but so smart.
But so smart.
One of the things I like about it, as I was watching it this time, was I'm not a psychologist or a therapist, but he totally has ADHD. And with that, it was just him finding the right thing to focus that on. Because he gets distracted easily and hyper-focuses, and finding the right thing, which I assume is probably Weird Al as a person, too.
Yeah.
But also the other characters he had in it, like Stanley Spadowski. I'm not even going to try to diagnose him, but it was treating the other characters with heart and finding what was special and unique about them, and then showcasing that to the world if we want to get deep with a Weird Al movie. Before, it was just this dumb movie that was funny and I liked, but having gone through more life experience and doing what we do, working with vulnerable people, it was, wow, he's really like finding the potential in these people and just releasing it. And sometimes that happens by accident, but when that's something you look to do, that you do kind of naturally, it's going to happen by accident.
Yeah. I have written in my notes here that I see my similarities with George, Weird Al's character.
And I am not going to go towards diagnosing you either.
Yeah, well, I am self-diagnosed ADHD, as a lot of Gen X kids would be because it was before we did that.
Yeah.
But I was raised by pop culture. I was a daydreamer. And I have here written George is a quintessential Gen X kid, but maybe he's just a quintessential version of me. Maybe I feel this kinship with him because that's how I feel. I have written here in my notes, the inside of the TV station is like the inside of my head. Like you got the mad scientist, the Mr. Ed theme song going on, the TVs in the background. Like, yeah, that's my head.
Fran Drescher yelling at you as you come in the door.
The nanny.
So for me, I really loved the random montages, especially the Rambo one.
Oh my goodness. That one was so funny.
I was dying laughing, and then I forgot that he ends up at the rival studio, and then he's like, oh, yeah. I could come back later.
Like, he just walked over there the whole time as Rambo, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm really George. What do I do now?
The Russian firing at him, and when the camera pulls back and he's got his bow and arrow pulled and they're like 2 feet away from each other. Oh my gosh. That was so stinking hilarious. It's been so long since I've seen this movie. I was genuinely surprised a lot and laughed, like had real from the gut laughs. What else holds up, Cody?
Most of the acting and actors they got, I think, actually work quite well. The guy that plays R.J. Fletcher, you really want to punch him in the face.
He's a quintessential 80s bad guy. Perfect.
Michael Richards as Stanley.
Yeah, let's talk about Michael Richards.
Please.
He is fabulous in this. I forgot. First of all, forgot it was Michael Richards. By the way, we'll keep saying that name. He's Kramer.
He is
Seinfeld.
Kramer.
That's what he's known as. And when you watch this, you see Kramer. Like there's so many mannerisms here that eventually go into the Kramer character. He showcases his physical comedy skills. This was his breakthrough, and his eccentric character work, and obviously leads to the Kramer character on Seinfeld.
Fran Drescher holds her own, and I'm like, no wonder they made you the Screen Actors Guild president. Because
great.
I would have said it's not based off your nanny work, but
I like that her career too just goes into more and more exaggeration. Like she's somewhat normal in this, although she still has a heavy Brooklyn accent.
Yeah.
And then by the time she gets to Nanny, she's like, she's like Janice and Friends. Like that real exaggerated, nasally. Yeah. It's good stuff.
Cooney, Noodles, the whole gang, really. I like them. There's one person that I do not like, but we'll get to that.
Anything else? Is that anything else that holds up? Or can I go to my list? All right. Mad Magazine helped inspire George's name. That was a bit of trivia that I did not do in the intro. So his last name is Newman, named after Alfred E. Newman. If you don't know, Mad Magazine was a humor magazine. I don't even know. Is it still being published?
I think so.
It used to be a big deal, but
and then Mad TV.
Yes, and most of it was parodies and satire. And so it makes sense that Weird Al would love Mad Magazine. But a lot of people growing up when he did probably would have. This movie, like I said before, is a perfect window into the 80s. He's burger flipping. You got karate makes an appearance. Used car commercials. The Dire Straits video. So there's a spoof, or there's a parody of Weird Al does a parody of Money for Nothing, the Dire Straits song, which was the big when MTV becomes a thing. The music video you most remember for that was Money for Nothing by Dire Straits. It's animated, and in fact, it has a lyric referencing it. It's like you play a guitar on the old MTV. That was how you're going to make it big, according to the song. The cool thing about that is he had a great band working with him on that parody, that Dire Straits parody. Do you know what the band was?
No.
Dire Straits.
Of course it was.
Yeah. So in order, the Mark Knopfler, who's the lead singer of Dire Straits, he came to him and said, hey, I want to make a parody of your song. He said, I'll do it on one condition. I get to play guitar, and we bring our keyboardist along to play keys. That's why the song sounds legit identical. Yeah. It's actually Dire Straits playing the song.
Playing their song.
That he's singing about the Beverly Hillbillies. So stinking good. And I just smiled. I smiled so hard at every bit of that.
Few people realize that video was actually the basis for Minecraft. I'm kidding, because they were all square. And,
yeah. So that was cutting edge animation back in the day.
And yet it was super cheesy and a parody of the cutting edge animation at the same time.
Also in my What's Good, would you eat a Twinkie Wiener Sandwich?
Why, that's a good question, Dave.
Why are you saying it like that?
A Twinkie Wiener Sandwich?
Why are you asking me like that?
Because I may have brought Twinkies, Wieners, and spray cheese.
Oh my gosh.
Because I've never eaten a Twinkie Wiener Sandwich before, and I thought this might be a great time to start.
You brought Twinkies, hot dogs, and spray cheese.
Absolutely.
Okay, this is a prominent thing in the movie. We're going to try this. Oh my goodness. Okay, we are now holding in our hands. This is insane. This is a Twinkie with a hot dog in it and covered in cheese whiz.
Yes.
Spray cheese
I'm
for the
so
uninitiated.
Glad that there's not like mayonnaise or something weird with that.
This is a delicacy in the movie UHF.
It is.
We are going to take a bite at the same time and react. 1, 2, 3. Oh, the sweetness is weird with the cheese. Oh. It's tangy. I wasn't expecting that. I should have been.
Honestly, it was better than I imagined. Well, now I'm going to finish mine.
Yeah.
That is going to be transferred to my what doesn't hold up list.
So I would tell you, Sean from Hot Ones did an episode with Weird Al and asked him specifically about the Twinkie Wiener Sandwich. He said, where did you come up with that? And how do you do it? What's the recipe? And Weird Al said, well, first it came from somewhere within my crazy mind. You have a Twinkie, you cut it open, you put a hot dog on the Twinkie like it's a hot dog bun, and then you use spray cheese on top. Because apparently that is the biggest, what kind of cheese do you use? Because people will use different cheeses. And Weird Al says it doesn't matter what type of spray cheese, but it has to be spray cheese. So
it's left a weird taste in my mouth, but I'll just say it. Not unpleasant.
Not the worst thing I've had.
Cody is like literally chowing down.
I didn't have lunch.
He's really
and we are
eating
doing this over dinner time.
Yeah.
He
So
is unironically eating the nerd out of that thing.
he's going to go and get a second one here in a minute.
You can have the rest of mine. The last thing I have in what holds up was the Uncle Nutsy scene where Weird Al is the George is the clown and the kid spits in his face. He says, "Are you ready to have fun?" or something like that, and the camera pans out to the kid, and he just like hawks a loogie in his face. I laughed so hard at that.
I also enjoyed the during that part of the Uncle Nutso, Bobo the clown, which is just Bob dressed up like a clown. And he said, "Look up, look down, look at Mr. Frying Pan," and he just smashes him in the face with a frying pan.
Yeah, his poor friend Bob, his poor friend David Bowie, not David Bowie. When that name flashed across the screen, I was like, David Bowie.
Yeah, I was like, "Come on!"
How in the world did they get David Bowie? And then I'm looking throughout the whole movie, and I'm like,
Yeah.
there is no Bowie here.
Yeah, and we've seen this movie before, but when I saw that name, I was like, David Bowie? And I was like, oh no, David Bowie. Jason, what doesn't hold up?
I like all of it. So
Yeah.
I was thinking,
Yeah,
like,
there's-
it's hard to, like, I could be super picky, but even the
Yeah,
things
no.
I was like the special effects don't necessarily hold up
Oh, but
unless
they're
it's a
hilarious.
parody.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be like that. Anyways, like, there was one, it reminded me of the Office episode of Threat Level Midnight, where Toby's head is just a cake and it blows up multiple times. And, like, it was like that in that vein, and you're like, well, that's why it's hilarious,
Yeah,
because the special effects aren't supposed to be special.
Yeah, the people exploding was so funny in this
Yes.
movie. But yeah,
Also, another reason it was probably PG-13.
yeah. I think there was only really a couple obvious things, but I'll see what Cody says.
I will say his girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
She
Okay.
does not hold up.
I didn't ever
let's
think she
talk
held
about
up in the first
Victoria
place.
Victoria
So.
Jackson.
Jackson
Victoria
I was going to wait till loser, but all right, here we
of
go.
SNL fame, because that's how I knew her. I have had beef with her probably since the aughts, because there was a thing that Weird Al was on as well. I love the 80s and I love the 90s, and they would bring up what was happening in each year, and they got to the years of Adam Sandler and Chris Farley and that group of SNL actors, and she was upset that her skits would never get put on the show, and theirs would, and it would just be them making like farting noises. Her words, not mine.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
And what was her implication?
that
She was funnier than them?
yes.
Yeah.
I have yet to see proof of that.
Yeah, one, I got two things to say to that. One, I'm sure as a female that she did hit glass ceilings. I'm not going to detract from that.
Yeah.
But that's not what she's saying. She's saying that she's funnier than those skits of those guys. And what I would say is, I was a big watcher of Saturday Night Live in those years that she was on. And I honestly cannot remember one skit of hers that I thought was funny. I'm just saying it. That doesn't mean she's not. She earned that spot to be there, so she must have done funny stuff. I just don't remember it. It didn't stick in my memory. But I got lots of Sandler and Farley and even Phil Hartman. I had a lot of stuff. Not just them either. It's not like they're all male. I can remember Jane Curtin. Who was the God? What was her name? That did the in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, the Alamo guide. There's no basement in the Alamo, silly. She was hilarious on Saturday Night Live. Mm-hmm. I don't know, Victoria.
So Victoria Jackson in this, she could have at least played up her voice or something. She was so cardboard.
I would say they didn't give her much to do to begin with.
No.
But she didn't do much with what they gave her to do
Yeah.
either.
Yeah. So I feel for her in her skits didn't get picked for Saturday Night Live, but it sounded like she attacked the other comedians who people remember from that time. And I'm like, well, they were kind of funny, and time has proven that they made lots of money.
And I feel she must be a funny person just because, like, you don't get cast by Weird Al in SNL if
Absolutely.
you don't have some comedic chops.
She doesn't get to use any of them in this movie.
No, everyone else did. Mm-hmm. And I mean everyone.
Everyone.
She's the only character in the movie besides the bad guys that resembles like a real world person.
And the bad guys even have like these moments that are a little like exaggerated.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. They're parodies themselves.
That doesn't hold up. Like we said, it doesn't stand like the political correctness test of today.
Yeah, see, that's what I was thinking.
The other thing is things like Conan the Librarian. Don't you know the Dewey Decimal System? No, nobody even knows what that is anymore. You don't go to the library and use the Dewey Decimal System. You go to the library and put it in the computer, and it tells you where to find it.
Yeah, and that's what this goes back to. It being satire and parody being perfect time capsules, which is why I enjoyed the movie. Because my first thought as I was having such a good time was, I should have watched this with my kids. But then I immediately thought, oh no, they wouldn't get any of this. Like, this would be totally and utterly foreign to them because they don't know who Rambo is. They don't know who Conan is. They don't know what a librarian. No, they know what a librarian is. But yeah, like you said, the Dewey Decimal System, what? Yeah. So yeah, it's a perfect thing. And it being a time capsule, we do get those 80s cringy moments. We talked about Getty Watanabe's character. We talked about the poodles jumping out the window. The other big one was the size shaming of Big Edna at the beginning.
Yeah.
That was a little cringy, being a big person myself.
She was strong, man.
Yeah, they do try their hardest to give her respect, right? Because she, basically kicks them a mile in the air. But yeah, so that's what I had for my what doesn't hold up as well. Who's the winner of the movie, Jason?
I have a couple things on that. First off, I think comedy fans are winners of this because it is just funny.
Definitely.
It's smart, and it makes fun of everything it touches, but in a smart and lighthearted way to where it's not being, in my mind, offensive towards any of it, but respectful. And I appreciate that. And honestly, as we were watching this, I realized when I was a children's pastor before doing what we do now, I would do characters, and I mentioned this informed my humor. Weird Al did, and I realized how deeply it did because as I'm watching it, I'm watching things like the mad scientist, and I have a mad scientist character that I didn't pull exactly from him, but was doing similar things, and so for me personally, I feel like I was a winner from this movie because I can attribute not just my humor, but how I portrayed things and taught to kids in a vein that hopefully would have made Weird Al proud that I pulled from him. As far as the winner of the movie, it's not because it's not a good movie. It's a really good movie, and obviously I love it. But because of the issues around it and its release and the fact that it was a bomb, I'm not sure it really propelled many people on to things they may not have gotten to anyway.
So you're looking at it very literally.
Yes.
You're not sure there is a winner, and I'm fine with that. And the comedy stuff's real. We did an episode some mini pods ago about is comedy dead? And I think kind of it is, but I think it doesn't have to be. Like this is a roadmap where you can do parody. The problem is now when we try and do parody now, it's always mean-spirited. It's always leaning one way politically. You're making fun of one side. That's how we do parody now, and it's always mean-spirited. This is not mean-spirited parody. It's actually smart and brilliant, and it honors. It's honoring parody. So that's what Weird Al's all about. If someone could come up with a Weird Al figure in today's age and start making parodies, smart parodies, well done, things we can all identify with the way life and pop culture is now, I think that's your ticket back to comedy. Cody, who's the winner of the movie? Not me, because that Twinkie hot dog thing's not sitting right.
You had one bite.
I know.
Probably the show Seinfeld.
Oh, yeah.
Because it comes out the same year, the same month as this movie.
Does it really?
It does.
Interesting.
And it comes out a little bit before the movie does. And so, like, if you watch the movie and you fell in love with Kramer.
Michael Richards.
I'm calling him Kramer now.
He's Kramer.
Yeah. You're like, oh, okay. He did a great job in this, and now I must go watch this Seinfeld show because Kramer's always in the commercials.
Yeah. My winner of the movie is 80s Kids. All of us sitting here at this table. 80s Kids is the winner. I said this earlier. The best parody and satire always acts like a time capsule, and I just had a blast watching this. I hadn't watched this since 1989, 1990, somewhere in there. Maybe a couple years after that. I remember a couple rewatches just because it was a fave back then, but not, I was getting older, so it got too cool for it eventually. But I just had a blast watching this. It brought back so much the 80s to me.
You got too lame.
So 80s Kids are the winner. Who's the loser of the movie, Jason?
As much as I hate to say it, and I know you're probably going to go a different route, Weird Al. This was so good. And I was telling you, like, it released at just the wrong time. Here are the other movies on the box office list the week this released. Lethal Weapon 2, Batman, When Harry Met Sally, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, License to Kill, Peter Pan Reissue. That was the re-release of the Peter Pan movie, I guess. Dead Poets Society, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Ghostbusters 2, and Weekend at Bernie's, and UHF came in at number 11.
Oh, my goodness. Listen, when we tell you youngins how movies used to be,
Yeah.
that is Murderer's Row.
Yeah.
And when it sent Weird Al into kind of the low part of his career, he doesn't come back until like late 90s.
Studios, take note. Release multiple good films.
Yeah. That's a good choice. Because, you want to say he's the winner, but this doesn't propel him like it should have.
I just wonder, what other things did we miss out on because this flopped so epically?
Yeah.
Because they did it wrong.
Yeah. Cody, who's the loser of the movie?
Big corporations, especially big TV stations.
Network affiliates.
Well, in 1989, you're nearing the end because this is when cable was taken over. Cable is really just starting to dominate at this time. And so they were an easy target, network television, at this time.
Yes.
Because this was, the dawn of cable, what really makes cable stations start, it's CNN. It's Desert Storm. That's the big moment where people are like, I don't need network TV. I got CNN 24 hours a day, war in me. I'm getting my war highlights.
Yep. You see an exaggerated satirical form of it, but this is what big corporations do. They try to buy out, bulldoze, worm their way into all these mom and pop or little businesses. And it's weird that we have come to a place where there really is just a handful of organizations that are really where we get all our goods and all our what we consume from.
Yeah.
Exxon, Chipotle, Verizon.
Well, Weird Al is my spirit animal. I think we would have a lot in common, a lot of things to talk about, because I tend to think that I probably think of the world the same way he does. And if this is all out of his brain, then we definitely think the same way. My loser is, I mentioned earlier that I immediately wanted to share this with my kids and then became sad because they wouldn't get it. And that's the loser of this movie, today's kids, that they don't have things like this, which are just absurd fun. Like, it's not like, listen, it's not your basic comedy. It's absurdist, but it's so smart and so dumb at the same time. It's just absurd and hilarious, and I love it. And I'm going to say this in song. What the world needs now is UHF 2.
This movie kind of is the precursor to like the scary movies, that run that we had in the late 90s to 2010s of that type of movie. Was there anything like that was kind of mainstream before?
Yes. So the Naked Gun series which is done by the guys that did Airplane.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
Airplane is not a straight parody, although there are things and situations they parody in the movie. The Naked Gun becomes more of like your straight parody because it's based on like a parody of cop shows and movies. Leslie Nielsen, of course, in that. And so it's going on in the 80s, but it's really, they're not as interested in the parody side of it being really smart. It's really kind of dumb comedy. It's just straight dumb and slapsticky in places.
Yep.
And Scary Movie and those kind of ilk kind of go that direction a little much for me. I was not a big fan of that. The other one would be, God, what's the one with Val Kilmer?
Secret Agent?
Secret Agent, yeah.
Or
Is that
Top
the name of it?
Agent?
Oh, I can't even remember.
Oh.
I can't even remember what it's called. But he's
Hot Shots.
Hot Shots. Yes.
No.
And Hot Shots Part 2.
But yeah.
Yeah.
That's not what you're talking about. It's the same vein.
No,
though.
those are two different films.
I'm thinking of Hot Shots. That one had Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, Charlie Sheen.
Well,
in that.
that's not Val Kilmer.
That's not Val Kilmer, but Val Kilmer was in
Ish.
one too.
Val Kilmer's was good.
Yeah, Hot Shots was good too, but again, that kind of stupid.
Top Secret. That's what
Top
it is.
Secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew it had to do with Secret Service.
So the genre
Spy.
existed, but UHF, what Weird Al brings is just very, very smart and intelligent parody, rather than slapsticky. It's just a preference. A lot of people love the Naked Gun movies. Those are classics.
I love the Naked Gun movies.
And it's only
But they're very different.
It's only a little weird now to see OJ doing slapstick comedy.
Just a little.
It got a little weird. That's all I'm saying. All right. Do we want to do ratings for this? Is it fair to do ratings for this movie?
I mean, you can say what your personal rating
All right.
is.
Jason, how many Twinkie Wiener cheese dogs out of 10 do you give this
So is that a
movie?
good?
Yeah, whatever.
That's a
The
good
more you
thing.
eat of them, the better.
Yeah.
Okay.
How many out of 10?
Out of 10, probably an 8.
I'll go 7.
Yeah. It's
Nostalgically,
weird.
it's like 9 or 10.
It's weird because like if you're asking me to do Siskel and Ebert and rate this as a cinematic entry, of course it's not good.
2 thumbs down.
It's not good. But did I enjoy it? Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
I loved it. And I loved it on the rewatch as a 48-year-old in 2024. It was absolute amazing. I want to go back. I want to watch it again. It was so funny. I just really enjoyed it. I'm gonna give it a 8.5. I really enjoyed it. All right. What'd you think of UHF? Are you old enough to watch UHF? Not everyone in our listening audience, this is going to be something that they remember.
I was 2 months old,
But
buddy.
you surely know Weird Al Yankovic.
If you don't remember it, you need to learn it.
Yeah. Everyone dial up Weird Al on Spotify and listen and do yourself a favor if you don't know him very well. And just have fun. We'll see you next time.